Hey, everyone, and welcome to Building with Vitality, the podcast that's all about helping you live your best life.
And we're your hosts, Nikki and Paige. We're going to give you all the tools to help build a life that's full of vitality. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Building with Vitality. If you're new here, me and Nikki are all about helping you guys build in all areas of your lives because truly it is all connected.
Yes, so today we're focusing a lot on health, and a lot of our episodes we focus on health and wellness because when we are taking better care of our bodies, our minds, our spirits, all of that, then that translates over into our jobs, our relationships, and everything.
Mm-hmm. Like we said, it's all connected. So today we have Dr. John here to talk all things health, hormones, wellness, healthcare, and everything in between. And most likely we'll have to have a part 2 because he has so much knowledge in a lot of these areas. But first, Dr. John, welcome to our podcast today. And please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Paige, Nikki, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I love your mission. I think it's beautiful and it's holistic. And as a family physician, like that's our whole perspective. We look at the person, we're looking at everything around them. So their biology, right? So it's very sciencey, but then their psychological piece and their social piece and maybe their pickleball piece. And so are you having some fun? And
Pickleball expert.
I think I'm a very holistic minded family doc.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Because it is all connected.
Yeah.
Back to our mission statement.
Absolutely. Everything has more than just science behind it. I think medicine right now we'll get into this more in a bit after my introduction, but medicine has become very science oriented and very dry and very, just cold. And it's okay. Like our right brain is that, right? Like we're very type A and we're very, and
we want answers.
And we want answers and we want science and we want all the knowledge and that's wonderful. And we are very that centric. And that's okay. And I think being left-brained a little bit more artistic, a little bit more, just holistic in the practice of healthcare is really, really good.
And focusing on the connection side, relationships.
Yeah.
I've actually seen a lot of the health people that I follow talk about how loneliness is one of the biggest aspects that affects your health too.
Yep.
So anyway, we'll dive into all of that.
Oh man,
today.
I got so much to say about all those things. Let me introduce myself. So John, my last name is Sanders, and I've been a family doc for more than a decade. And a lot of that was in a rural setting. I'm from a small town in Nevada. I grew up in a little mining town. And then I went to med school in South Florida. I went to undergrad at UNLV. Go Rebs. I guess they're not Rebs anymore.
You went to some fun places.
Yeah.
UNLV and then
the
Florida.
Opposite of BYU.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Florida for med school, residency in Florida as well, with an emphasis in holistic family medicine, but also in rural family medicine, where I could deliver babies and work in the ER and work in the hospital and, just work in all the aspects of healthcare. From residency, I navigated to Moab, where I spent 6 years doing that. So I was delivering babies, working in the ER, the hospital. I was also a hospice and a medical director of a hospice, so helping people come into the world and leave the world and everything in between. And so really fun journey that I had with my family. And we moved here about 6 years ago. My wife, Shauna, wanted to go to law school. And so she attended law school here. And
what a power couple.
Yeah.
Tacked on an MBA. And so
wow. That is amazing. So does she help you with the practice or does she?
She does.
Okay.
Yeah. She's smarter than me. So it's really.
That's the way to do it.
It's great.
That is amazing.
So what led you to starting your own practice?
Oh, yeah. This is great. So in medicine, I've always been interested in like, running my own practice and stuff. And so in Moab, I ran a practice for the hospital. I wasn't able to kind of establish that there. And we were mostly, plugged into the machine. The machine is the current U.S. healthcare system. And that looks like, okay, I'm going to pay you per paycheck a whole bunch of money for you to give me a high deductible with copays and all this silliness. And so that's the insurance game, right? And so we just played the game for 6 years in Moab. And then when I moved here, I joined a bigger group, right? And it was just a big group run by physicians and everything. And I thought, oh, this will be interesting, a big group. Let's see how it goes. I quit after 2 months. It was lame. And it was just layers of bureaucracy. And then there's a lot of bureaucracy from insurance and government as well. And it all rolls downhill to the family docs. The family docs like take care of families from newborn to adult, right? And so we're just involved in lots of layers and lots of the elements of our healthcare system. And it's taxing and it's burdensome. And over my career, I just saw people getting pushed away from me.
Yeah.
So they were getting pushed away from me more than coming in to see me.
Right.
And it was by the very insurance company that they pay every paycheck to have their coverage.
Yeah.
And then the constraints of that insurance company also creates lots of inefficiencies. I truly believe that most physicians are good humans. They want to take good care of people, but they're plugged into this machine that creates inefficiencies. It forces them to hurry through more and more patients per hour. Then they have 4 or 5 or 17 administrators barking at them to see more patients per hour per day.
Then they stop loving helping people. It's more so just, how do I get through this?
You got it. And so we get kind of burnt out and kind of jaded. And,
of course. And
when we're not truly resonating with our why, our core value of care, then it doesn't work, right? It's like, ugh, it feels really bad and you just kind of want to quit. So I almost quit medicine and I just was going to franchise like a Subway sandwich shop or something.
Or professional pickleball.
Or play pickleball, or maybe take some singing on I don't know, something different. Or just sell kittens out of my trunk. Anything
but
was
at least
better.
that would bring people happiness too, right?
Yes. So I looked into this model of caring for people through a membership. I had a friend in Florida that was doing it, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. So this was 6 years ago, and so I started Voyage Direct Primary Care, and I just have like an annual membership for folks, and they can come see me as much as they want, no copays, no deductibles, and it's
That is
reasonably
amazing.
Yeah, that is really awesome.
So explain to us a little bit about your clientele base. So, I mean, is it, do you see them multiple times a month? Like what kinds of people go to you?
Yeah. So all kinds and all ages and all socioeconomic statuses as well. So
Awesome.
People have been doing this, what I do, but they just do it like concierge. So like price points are 5 times what I charge. And so, they have that demographic, and I really want to just take care of people, and I want to be reasonably affordable for everybody. So we just dialed in a price point that works for most families. And so we have people, I'd say most of our people actually have insurance, which is interesting. Yeah. People think of membership and they're like, oh, that must be all uninsured people. But most of ours actually have insurance.
Wow.
And so how do we fit with that? Well, we spend 30 to 60 minutes with our people. We get to know them. We have relationship, and it's beautiful care.
Which is so important because when you don't spend the 30 to 60 minutes actually understanding what's going on with them, then you can't properly make
you can't.
decision
You don't
for them
have,
too.
Yeah,
you got it.
And I think that's one of the bigger issues that we're seeing in the whole healthcare system.
Super true. I think it is time with person, not just for relationship and trust, but also to deploy brain cells. Yes. So how many brain cells can I deploy in 2 minutes?
Right. Wow. I never thought about it like that.
Right.
And then I just get superficial, understanding of what's going on. And then I offer superficial care for that superficial understanding.
And you can't even ask all the right questions. You don't even know what questions to ask.
Right. So for our clients, we spend 60 minutes with them on routinely or more if they need to. And if we still don't cover all the things in that 60 minutes, I'm like, I'll see you next week, or I'll see you tomorrow. Whatever it takes. But we get to get past that surface level care, and we can take care of them in a holistic way. So we'll talk about their emotions, we'll talk about their sleep, we'll talk about their mindset around their sickness, right? Around their body and their thing. So it's great to have time to actually deliver more brain cells and more care to people.
Yeah. No, and that's awesome because I know doctors are so quick to prescribe medicine, like a Band-Aid fix, but it actually might be over here, their diet, and they're not sleeping and they're not exercising and all of these other things.
Spot on.
So yeah, that's really awesome.
100%. And because of the constraints of the system, forcing them with administrators and bureaucratic silliness to see more patients per hour.
Right.
They're pulled away from delivering what they would like to deliver, which would be a more in-depth, better care.
Right.
And they're just kind of point shoot. Who's next? Point shoot. And that point shoot care is like maybe and did I need to prescribe that medicine?
Yeah.
Or was there a more holistic way we could have addressed that with pickleball?
Yeah, with pickleball.
Yeah.
He'll get into pickleball, you guys.
Exercise, you get connection, you get fun.
So talk to us a little bit about what's going on right now and what you're seeing. I mean, because what we're seeing on social media is a increase in autoimmune diseases and things within our food and our beauty products and all of that are decreasing our ability to fight off some of these toxins. So are you seeing that with your patients as well? I want to call them clients because that's the world that I come from.
I
But
call them
patients.
clients too. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. I think it's a better word.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I see everything, honestly.
Yeah.
And as a rural doc, I from broken bones to to injuries to back pain to neck pain to autoimmune diseases to sometimes idiopathic things, which makes me look like an idiot. We don't know the answer. And I met with one of these today. He's just an episode of House, right? Like he's a conundrum. He is a zebra. He's not a typical horse that we see. And so we spent an hour and I said, I need to see you next week and keep spending time. We're going to order these labs and we'll see you back and we'll keep digging. So there's a pretty diverse population of things that we cover in the clinic.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Newborn care to adult care.
Interesting.
because some of that also could be emotion based as well, of like deep trauma that someone's like storing in their body.
Speaking of emotion-based, navigating COVID and post-COVID and all that was really, really fascinating, just from an epidemiologic standpoint, so public health standpoint.
Yep.
And what happened to my teenagers and my adults and the level of anxiety that I saw and the level, I've never had anxiety or depression my whole life and now I can't get out of bed. And I'm, I saw such a huge uptick in that. And I don't contribute it to COVID or long hauler symptoms or anything like that. I just think it was the social way that we handled everything and the panic
isolation.
button that was being pressed by media and then the isolation and the social distancing.
Because that led to a bunch of fear. And we know what fear does to us.
Yes.
Yes, cortisol
there's-
levels go up,
Yep.
immune system comes down. You got it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's fascinating. So in that time, how did you handle that with all of your clients?
A lot of love
Yeah.
and a lot of time and a lot of trust. And I think just like I had people sick with COVID and I would go to their home and I would say, hi, you're sick and it's okay. And I would sit next to them, not 6 feet away. I didn't have a mask on. I would put my arm around them. I've done this
for you.
I've been a doc for a long time and I've never, oh, you got the flu? Hold on, let me put a mask on. I've never done anything like that. And so you just care for them like people and just treat them like we used to treat them. And,
Yeah.
Right.
and
Yeah,
not like, oh my gosh, you got COVID. Hold on.
Right.
Let
I
me
remember
put on a
like
whole
someone
gown
would
and the whole
cough
thing.
in 2020 and like you thought like you were going to die.
I know.
Yeah. Now I encourage it. Please cough in my face.
Please cough. It'll do us both greatness.
Yeah.
So cool. Okay, so walk us through a little bit of what I'm curious on how you even built it up. Like, how did you get different clients? Because I didn't actually know that this was even an option. So one, that's really, really fascinating. And then two, like going back to kind of like the whole realm of what you're seeing with medical practitioners today and making sure that you're taking that holistic approach. How do you extend that into your employees as well? Because I think that's also, it's easy for us to treat our patients the way that we want to, right? But then how do you pass that down to your actual employees so that they're taking a holistic first approach as well?
Yeah. No, these are great questions. So how did I grow? And then how do I make sure that everyone is cross-trained to think the same holistic mindset as me? Got it. Just restating.
I love it.
You can cut that if you want. So growth was hard. And in business, what do they say? They say, put yourself in a position where you can't afford to lose.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't know who said that, but somebody said
So
that.
some awesome
You
guy.
said it. Now it's your quote. We're going to quote you.
In fact, every anime says that at least 20 times. I can't afford to lose. And then they do some monumental thing, right? I don't know if you guys, anyways.
I've never watched anime.
I have watched anime, but I don't remember
Oh,
those
just
parts.
wait. No, yeah. Mob Psycho 100, just going to cut that out. But dude, hilarious and awesome. So put yourself in a position where you can't afford to lose. And that's important. I have 4 kids, wife in law school. I moved here from Moab. I don't know anybody. and I just quit my job after 2 months, right? So
That's stressful.
I couldn't afford to lose.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. And so I just believe in good care. And so I jumped off a cliff yelling, I believe in good care.
There's a quote that it's like, how did I become this successful? And then it just says ... delusion. And I'm like, it is so true. Like, you have such high belief in yourself. You're almost delusional.
Totally. I was completely delusional. And I just said, I'm going to do this thing. I brainstormed with my wife, and she's like, well, I'm really busy, so I can't help you because I'm in law school. But, I feel good about it. And so, I think I just got, every moment was an opportunity to tell somebody about what I was trying to accomplish. And pioneering a movement in a community where you don't know anybody is really, really challenging.
Totally.
I hosted like twice a week dinner with a doc. One of my clients was a restaurant owner.
Oh, that's genius.
That's really smart.
So he's like, yeah, man, I'll just throw some food out there and you can bring some people and, tell them what you're doing. And I'm like, thanks, man. And so,
you hacked the system.
So, I got an average of 2 people to my events because I'm not good at that either. And
But you're going to start somewhere.
That's
good for you for being brave enough, though, to do that. Because that's hard if you're not sure if people are going to come to your events and you're like, I'm doing this, whether one person or 10 people come.
Totally. And then I've done events or presentations at like local libraries and then I joined some business networking things, and that was okay. And really it's all about getting one person through the door. So my very first family, I think I did a raffle in the building. I had a table and I was just sitting there like raffling off free memberships to my clinic. And so this family joins and I'm like, yes, a family. And they have like 27 kids, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, sweet. And
Yeah, Utah's the right place for that.
Yeah, totally. So we get them in and just take really good care of them. And she's a hairdresser. So that's perfect. So she just tells all her friends, and then it just grows. And the word of mouth, when you just take good care of people, they feel it.
Yep.
And then they just tell more people. And yeah.
So you did no outside marketing. Like at this point, you didn't have, like, you're not running any ads. You're just relying on the good care that you gave patients.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
The ad thing was really tricky because this kind of caring for people is not, it's not typical. So it's not even SEOable, right? Like, how do you SEO a direct primary care doc, like in your neck of the woods? It wasn't even a thing like that was widely nationally known, and it's better now, but still not super well known.
Yeah.
And so, it was just really challenging, just getting people through the door, taking good care of them, and let them tell their friends, and keep
that
it
is
growing.
amazing. So you just start somewhere. You just took action. You had huge belief in yourself, and then look at where you are now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, that's a beautiful lesson in itself.
Super scary. And I would be in my office just like, man, this sucks. Like, this is really hard. And I really just want someone to care for right now. And I was like willing to give it away, right? And that's good for me. It's good for me as a evolving physician, because the system is not that, right? The system is, you're kind of entitled, and everybody's a jerk to clients, and they're not even clients, they're just patients. And and we treat them like numbers, and it's all about throughput. And so I was like, wait, I've got to change, right? I've got to be something different and do something different.
Yeah, because you don't fit that mold. Because even like, I went to the eye doctor today, and you even feel a sense of like numbness on their side, where I have to be the one to be like, well, do you think it's this? And it's interesting because right off the bat, I can tell you're really empathetic. I almost think you're kind of an empath. So you can feel people's pain almost. Whereas a lot of the doctors that I've personally been to, they just kind of feel numb, right? Like, and they don't, it's almost like they're desensitized potentially to, because they've probably seen so much. Like, of course, that organically must happen.
Well, and they can get in trouble too. Like, there's so much red tape that it's like they're probably scared a little bit of someone suing them if they do something wrong.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes back to the left brain, right brain that we were talking about too. Like, that, I think, is what makes you so good at what you do, is you have both. You have the logical science-based side, but then you have the love connection-based creative side too. And merging those together is the science and the care.
Yeah. That is super true. And I think largely we're left brain, science driven, type A in the current system. And it creates those kinds of conundrums where it feels cold. Secondly, I think it's largely because we are distracted by a laptop, because we're having to put all this data into this machine so that then it can hopefully push it out to an insurance company that maybe pays us a little bit. And so that's another piece that pulls me away from my engagement with my clients. And I didn't like that either. So pulling off of that machine has been so good and liberating for me. I often have lunch at the doctor's lounge at the hospital, and you know, I just talk with the old docs and stuff. And they're like, you know, what are you doing? And I tell them about my shop, and they're like, and they're just so sad. They're like, I wish I could do that. Because it destroys your soul.
Totally.
Because it is, again, it's malalignment to our core value, our why. We're not resonating appropriately.
Right. The irony behind that of like, you go to medical school, like you learn these core values, and then you get out all gung ho, and then you're like, wait a second, I can't actually, I shut down.
Yep.
So how are you teaching that to your employees then?
Yeah. So it's similar to what you guys are doing with the podcast. I think with emphasizing and re-emphasizing your core values, your mission, your vision. And at all of my staff meetings, we have one every week. We just emphasize it. We're like, hey, what's our mission? Somebody says it. And then I'm like, how are we doing? Give me an example. And somebody will tell us about this sweet mama that we took care of and did this thing. And I'm like, high five, we're doing it. And part of ours is like affordable, transparent, beautiful healthcare to our communities. And so we'll talk about ways that we saved these families money, or that we spent more time with them, or we delivered a little extra TLC to this other situation. And it's very satisfying. And so I think just as a leader of the group, just being able to emphasize and re-emphasize that mission, vision, and your goals.
Wow. Well, with that being said, where do you see healthcare going within the next 5-10 years? Like, do you feel like there's going to be a pivot? Because we're already seeing the rise in holistic health and everyone actually now being really cognizant of what they're eating and putting on their skin, etc. Do you think it's going to go more your route? Or do you think people still have to wake up a little bit more?
As far as the doctors, I think 1,000% it is not a sustainable model for family physicians, pediatricians, internal medicine docs, the primary care specialists, because of all the reasons we just stated. It is soul draining and brutal. And so when I first started 6 years ago, there were maybe 400 or 500 of us nationally, and now there's more than 2,000.
Wow.
It's beautiful. And so it's a movement called direct primary care. So we're taking primary care, family medicine directly to the people, and we're just contracting directly with individuals, families, small companies, and taking care of them like we would our own families.
Okay, so then let's say me, I have private insurance, so I pay for that monthly. So how does that work? Do I still keep my private insurance, but then pay your monthly fee, and then so any of the big tests that I need to do, then you would run through my insurance? Like, is it still helpful to have health insurance though, you said?
I love this question. So most of our clients have insurance, and we uptick their care, but we also uptick, we probably save them as much as they spend with us, even though they have insurance. So an example, there's a medicine that I wrote a patient, and they went to use their insurance to pay for it, and it was $200. And I'm like, that's so lame. That medicine has gone generic a long time ago. And so I printed off a quick coupon, sent it to them, and it was $20. And so just little things. Yeah, for sure.
Here's what's crazy about that. My doctor did that to me one time, and I knew to call back and ask for the generic, but not everyone knows that. And then I also went to go get my hormones tested, because that's covered for free by or not hormones, but a metabolic panel, because I wanted to go do my free physical. And then I ended up getting all these bills for it, and I'm like, what the heck? And they had used an outside lab to test the blood that wasn't covered by my insurance. And so I was just like, whoa. So apparently you need to ask that question too of, okay, what lab is testing this? So that's what's nice, is if you don't have to stress about educating yourself or being your intense advocate, then you have you to kind of be that advocate for you that actually knows the right questions to ask and do. Because it is very stressful. I have insurance, and I get stressed out going to a doctor. There's a couple appointments that I need to make right now just to get my hormones tested and do some things. And I'm like, geez, it sounds like a headache. Sometimes I'll just pay in cash for it because it's easier than going through my insurance.
Yep. this is such an important point. Advocating for yourself, understanding some pieces of the healthcare system and advocating for yourself. I think you can't overemphasize that on your show as many times as you can. And
Be your biggest fan.
Yes, advocate. But you're right. If you have me, I'm like the master advocator.
Right,
because
you know
I
everything,
know all the ins and outs of all the little tricks.
Yep.
And so, for instance, your comprehensive metabolic panel is like $5 with us. And so,
$5?
Yeah.
Wait, shut the front door.
Yeah,
Did
exactly.
you tell me that already? You didn't even look surprised.
But this is crazy.
Hormones, like, very affordable. We have negotiated on behalf of our clients because we don't serve anyone else. I just serve you.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So you contract with me, and I'm helping you.
That's amazing.
With the whole machine.
Yeah, because the thing is, a lot of people, I tell people, especially after, well, I mean, you're the doctor, but I tell people this. After you turn 30.
Just medical advice. It's fine.
Yeah, you know. I'm just saying, go get your hormones
Disclaimer.
tested. Because a lot of people don't know. Like, oh, your hormones.
You need to go get your hormones tested.
I need to
She's
go.
telling people, but
I'm
she's
telling
not
people,
even doing it.
but it's very stressful. I know a decent amount, and I get overwhelmed by it. I'm like, oh, who do I go to? I need to make sure I know which ones I want them to run because there's so many different blood panels.
Yeah,
that
it's
have
like,
them
maybe
run.
let's dive into that a little bit. What do you typically recommend when someone is wanting to figure out if their hormones are leveled?
Let's speak to that. So I love this question too. I keep saying that, but you guys are full of really great questions.
Paige is on fire with the questions today.
I have been told I have really random questions, but they love it. It's good.
Because she's so curious.
So hormones, pretty controversial in medicine for several reasons. But super important. We're seeing more and more earlier menopause type situations for folks, late 30s, early 40s. People are making some of those hormonal shifts in their lives, and we don't understand why, right? So that's
Toxins.
And there's a bunch of hypotheses. Maybe that's a piece of the equation. Maybe higher stress levels. We don't ever take siestas.
Yeah.
Just got back from Mexico.
You know what?
Siesta every day.
Let's incorporate some siestas.
Let's go.
Seriously.
We need to bring back the siesta.
We should.
I'm not joking.
I'm not either. There's a lot of science behind that.
And so I think that the hormone piece is really, really important. It's important to understand. There's been some really good science on this topic, and there's some really decent podcasts that have already been done in this space, and I'm happy to share those in the links down below or whatever.
Awesome.
The ones that the sticking points are thus: breast cancer and endometrial cancer. And is it reasonable to supplement hormones for folks? And that's the rub. And so I'm going to circle back to that. But before I circle back to that, I want to talk about hormones and female cycles. So, a female cycle, the hormones are doing, it's unfair. Okay, y'all have been dealt an unfair deck of cards. Like, it's just not.
I have been telling everybody that, every male.
Yeah. No, we're jerks, and we're total jerks. So what happens with the female cycle and the hormones is really important. And if you just Google female menstrual cycle hormones, it will show you. There'll be, and just
the different phases.
Google image it, and it'll show you all the things that happen. Your estrogen is low, and it peaks during ovulation, and then LH-FSH spike, and then it drops, and then progesterone levels start because the corpus luteum and all this stuff. And so it's very complicated, right? And so you could go at the beginning of your cycle, and it'll be different than mid-cycle, and it'll be different than end of cycle. So if you are checking hormones, or you have someone that's helping you navigate that space, I think it's important to make sure it's someone who is reasonably trained in hormones, and that
because they need to know where you're at in your cycle.
Yes.
Because the person needs to know as well to track that.
Yeah. Medicine can be dogmatic. We think one way, and until you prove me different, I'm not going to change my thinking. That's a good thing. It's a bad thing.
Yeah.
In this space, I think a lot of OBGYNs, right? These are the obstetric gynecologists, people. They're technically should be handling hormone equation in females. And a lot of them are dogmatically against hormone replacement therapy. And because of this WHI trial that was done in the 90s that showed a possible uptick in breast cancer with medroxyprogesterone, which we don't use now, by the way, we use micronized progesterone. Anybody who knows anything about hormone replacement is using bioidentical micronized progesterone. Very inexpensive, by the way. You can get it very inexpensive.
I actually took it for a while because I did some fitness competitions and I was so tired. I went and got my hormones tested and my progesterone was really low, and so was my testosterone. And so the doctor put me on progesterone, and that then helped increase my testosterone, and I limited my stress and cortisol. But it made a world of difference for me. I was on it for a few months, and then I was able to just bounce back. So.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, absolutely. So those kinds of things, and being able to look at that equation and just balance some of the nuance. Interestingly, so vitamin D levels being low, probably since COVID, more people have almost normal vitamin D levels because there was more vitamin D awareness with its immune function and how it can help you fight COVID and stuff. So now we're seeing a little bit less low vitamin D, but it's still out there, and almost everybody's low on vitamin D. That is one of the precursors to your hormone balance. And so making sure, I'm like, guys, like we don't have to just pull the trigger on hormones. We can address your vitamins, and then let's address your stress levels, and let's address your metabolic syndrome that you're fighting that's increasing your sex binding globulin hormone. There's the hammer nail trick with like there's a ton of these little pellet shops out there doing tons of hormones, and they're just nailing everything that comes through. They're not holistically looking at or managing. Sorry for hitting the mic. They're not holistically managing or taking that into equation of
Okay, so you mentioned a few of those natural things. What else? And what other natural supplements like
to help balance?
Yeah, I know, like fenugreek, like there's just different like vitamins that are potentially helpful.
Yeah, I'm not a super expert in the herb and vitamin space. I would say fenugreek is great. Vitamin D, make sure that's tight. And really, I'd say a large percent, that's 3 larges.
This is a big deal right here. Listen up, guys and gals.
It's diet, exercise, stress.
100%.
Those 3 things are really messing with our hormones and our balance, and we're overweight, and we're stressed, and we're not eating, we're not sleeping, and our testosterone's in the toilet, and there's no wonder why.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to.
I feel like it all comes back to those 3 things.
It usually does. It's what's wild. So what would you say to just like the average person if they feel lethargic, fatigued? What are like the small things that they can just do? Would it be, hey, check your vitamin D? Are you getting... Women now, I saw a statistic that we actually need 9 hours of sleep. I don't know how accurate that is.
Let's go.
But it's like men only need about 6 to 7. Women now need 9. And I'm probably getting 6. And so it's like, it's also, I always think back to, you also need to understand your cycle. We had, like I was telling you, another episode about hormone balance and cycle syncing. Understanding how you're supposed to feel in each of those phases. Like, you're not always going to feel super optimal. Like, it's okay that because in this phase, your progesterone is low and your estrogen is low, like, you're going to be tired. Like, that's the reality. But then it comes back to, okay, how are we supposed to feel, understanding all of the different phases, but then the small things that you can do, like that vitamin D, like making sure you're getting 9 hours of sleep. I don't even know if that's possible for all of us. But like, what are some of those other small things to do?
Yeah, I love this. Small things. So get sleep. Caffeine has a direct relationship to that. While caffeine is awesome for workouts, and there's some good data behind that, actually, sometimes it's like less awesome for our sleep function and our cycles and stuff, and our ability to get into the deepest of deep sleep, that really deep restful sleep. If you get good sleep, your cortisol levels come down, your stress levels come down, you can lose weight easier, you feel better, your hormones are better, your cycles are better, everything's better.
What about if you can't sleep at night? Like, I have had a severe problem sleeping at night.
Yeah. 7-second sleeper hold.
Okay.
Just kidding, don't do that.
I'm like, I am here for it. A doctor's in the room telling me exactly what to do, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do the 7-second sleeper hold. Don't do it. That's like WWF stuff. No, sleep is one of the most pivotal foundational things in our wellness, and I call it one of the foundation blocks, and probably the foundation to our overall wellness. At Voyage, I've had 6 years to work on people's health and wellness, and one of the things we created was like a health program, right? Like a health coach program, medical health coach program, where we kind of work with folks, and sleep is one of the core values there. And then we do mindset, and we do micronutrients, and we just help people come from like here to there, right? Just
that is amazing.
And then, because sleep is so important, and I was like, we still need to serve the sleep equation better. we created a sleep coach program.
Yes.
So I just need to I need to enroll in the sleep coach program.
Yeah, you do actually.
Yeah. And so we have like, sleep coaches that kind of walk with you through what's your sleep pattern.
Yeah.
And very scientifically, there's actually some good science in the sleep space.
Huberman's come out with a couple really good episodes.
Peter Attia also good episodes, like 2 4-hour long, like crazy long sleep, PhD sleep nerds. Like I love that stuff.
No, it's just so important though, like, because the lack now won't necessarily affect you in a week, but it affects you 10 years from now. Like people don't realize the way you're sleeping right now is actually affecting you years down the line.
Yeah.
And that's with like food, that's with everything that we're doing, right? We're not seeing the outcome of it for years, but
I still think we're seeing the outcome of if you're not sleeping a ton, like I see it.
But you might get an autoimmune disease later.
Yes.
Like all of those things, like that's what I'm talking about. It's like the inner wellness. And so I think that's the bigger thing.
A couple other points to the sleep piece. Looking at and managing the caffeine consumption part of the equation, just look at it and be aware of it, be cognizant, and exercise. Like I don't think there's a better medicine than exercise right now. Like if we can just get it in. And
pickleball.
I was going to say pickleball.
Finding something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
We actually just did an episode about how to make and keep healthy habits, like how to keep a workout regimen going.
Dude.
So, because it is a mindset thing, a lot of it.
100%.
And so I always say something is better than nothing. So just at least get your body moving, play some pickleball.
Totally. Okay, so just let me talk briefly about pickleball.
Please.
Yeah, I was actually just about to ask that.
I love pickleball. It's got lots of stuff.
We have a pretty much professional pickleballer here with us right now.
Tyler Leung is professional. I just, I'll hit the ball with him sometimes when he lets me. No, it's great. It's a fun way to get your heart rate up and kind of move and groove and sweat a bunch. But it does not take the place of strength training. And so I made that mistake. I overdid the pickleball. I started to hurt my body, my knees and my shoulders, and all these pieces. And I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like, dummy, like my undergrad was sports medicine. Like I know, like if you're starting to get injured on the pickleball court, it's because you're not strong enough. So I just did this body rehab thing and started doing strength training, and then that helped to fix a whole bunch of the equation. So
that's awesome.
Do things that you like that you can maintain.
Yeah, but also strength train.
Yeah, but also strength train.
Yeah. So would you say people need to strength train at least a couple times a week? Okay.
As many as you can. Like I shoot for 5 days a week. I usually get 3 to 4. Like I'm always
aim high.
Yeah. Every single day.
Yes. Yes.
No, that's awesome. Okay, and then I kind of wanted to dive into cortisol a little bit because I know you've mentioned that a few times of that impacting your health. And when I dove into the negative effects, the negative effects of cortisol, I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to lower my stress. This is why yoga is so good for us.
And we are all hyper stressed. That is.
Yeah, a lot of people are literally living in a fight or flight mode.
I think probably 90% of Americans are in that mode all the time. We don't rest. We take caffeine when we're tired.
We don't have siestas.
We don't take siestas. Yep. We are working. And we got to look at that long term, like you said, right? So long-term cortisol levels really high. What impact does that have on our current relationships, on our future longevity and quality of life throughout that life? And it's massive. Yeah, it's super massive. If your cortisol levels are high, your stress levels are high, cortisol is a natural occurring hormone in our kidneys. Our adrenal glands produce cortisol. They do their job. But if you're overly stressed, your cortisol levels can be too high, and it can create situations where your body is in this fear mode. And in that fear mode, it struggles to lose weight. It struggles to maintain healthy habits, healthy diet, healthy exercise. And it's just really hard to have any semblance of self-control and on reasonable consumption of food and all kinds of things that are the downstream implications of having elevated cortisol levels.
Because that really comes from the primal nature, right? Where you're hunter and gatherer. And I can't remember what the book was called, but it basically talked about how our stress, we're still feeling generational stress, if you will, but our bodies are so used to fighting for food that nowadays, even though everything is at our fingertips, now we have stress, but in a different way, and people don't know how to regulate it. And that's what's so crazy. It's what are some of those things that we can do to help regulate it? Of course, sleep, exercise. Everyone knows those ones. But like, what are
the big one.
what are the things that like say someone is like, yeah, I'm about to sell my company. I can only get 5 hours of sleep. Like, what would you tell them an alternative is?
Is this someone you, Paige?
No, it was me though. It absolutely was.
I had to go there.
We have a lot of hard chargers that follow us because I am a hard charger, and so we have a lot of the big.
I was a crazy hard charger, and then I hit burnout mode multiple times, and then I hit ultimate
So
burnout
talk
mode.
to the people that are not getting a lot of
Yes,
sleep,
yes.
but they are
'Cause we
taking their
were
vitamin
for-
D, but they want to figure out ways to decrease their cortisol levels. Like, I'm sure breath work is probably something that you're familiar with, meditation. Is there anything else that's not really talked about that can help decrease some of that cortisol?
I'm going to give you a couple pearls. So pickleball. Just kidding.
It all comes back to pickleball.
We keep hitting the pickleball button. We probably should stop. So,
It's relevant though.
but play, right? Have fun and find some
Laughter.
time to
Ooh, I
laugh
say that a lot.
and play. And when I play sports, I played sports my whole life, and I love volleyball and soccer and ping pong and pickleball. And half the time when I'm not in a tournament, right, with my cortisol levels up, I'm like laughing and joking and smack talk and all the fun things that
So
are
have
just
fun, be playful. I agree with that, 100%.
It's great medicine. Play is great medicine.
Yes.
Shinrin-yoku, so it's a Japanese tradition of forest bathing, is beautiful. So I started mushroom foraging a few years ago, and so our mountains have really cool mushrooms, and I do some like forest bathing while I'm up there.
Wait, so tell me about that.
What's forest bathing? You go.
you don't take your clothes off and walk through the forest looking for mushrooms.
Should we Google this?
Or you walk naked through the forest.
No, you don't do that. It's all about just immersing yourself in nature. And
Grounding.
there's green zones, there's blue zones. Blue zones have some water in them. Green zones are just green. And you're there, you're smelling, you're hearing, you're seeing, you're
Using all your
your
senses.
senses to ground yourself into the present. And it's beautiful. And to me, that's been really soul building, right? It's lifting, and it's great for my cortisol levels that go down. And I just love it. I love being in
wonderful.
nature and just, and when you're hunting for something, there's something about that, like the dopamine hit when you find a mushroom.
because you're
It's-
focused on something.
So now I'm out, I'm looking for
Where do
mushrooms.
you go if people are in Utah? Where do they
all
go?
of our canyons and mountains have wonderful, yummy
I
mushrooms.
had no idea. So do you pick the mushrooms and then you go home and saute them?
Yes, but caveat. There are
Some of
several
them are probably
mushrooms in Utah.
poisonous.
Yeah, 4 of them that will kill you, and the rest
Okay.
will give you diarrhea and vomiting. You have a
Yeah.
sad
Maybe
day.
just stare at the mushroom if you're unsure.
Stare at it, smell it, look
Unless
at
you're
it.
a
You can
doctor
touch
and
it.
you
It
know
won't
your
harm you
mushroom.
if you touch
Yeah.
them. That's a misconception. But go with somebody who's knowledgeable. It's gaining more and more traction, and
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I've never heard, because we've had the people come on like cold plunging, meditation, breath work. We have not had this one before.
I know. I love that.
And some people might resonate a little bit more with this.
Yep. I went to a medical conference, so we do these continuing medical educations as physicians every year. We have to do so many, and one of them was on just like lifestyle medicine, and one of them was about nature medicine. They call it nature medicine, but it was really just Shinrin-yoku, like go in nature, listen, breathe, smell.
The Japanese have it right.
They have it right. They know
I
things.
love their culture.
Honestly, yeah.
It all comes back to simplify your life. Connect more, move more, eat healthier. Oh, what are your thoughts about alcohol, actually? What like would you recommend having a little bit of alcohol is okay, or are you like ideally no alcohol?
As far as what angle, what are we talking about? Like
Health, general health.
overall health. So there were some thoughts back in the day that maybe like a glass of red wine helps your HDL levels, maybe helps your cholesterol. That's been debunked. Actually,
Yep.
it's not super helpful.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can have data on anything.
Yes.
Alcohol in the evenings is super bad for sleep. It messes with your circadian rhythms.
Yes, when we were talking about sleep, I remember I think Huberman did come out with how bad alcohol is for sleep.
Yep, that's a no-go. I don't know. I'm not opposed to I'm not opposed to folks like having a good time and connecting. And if that is a medium through which folks can pull down some of their inhibitions and have more meaningful connection, then awesome. Abuse is a real thing. My dad was an alcoholic, and so I grew up with all that stuff. And so it's not for me, but But I think some folks, it can be, socially beneficial, and if
Yeah.
that has, physiologic implications, maybe that's okay.
But from a strictly health standpoint, we are debunking a glass of wine a night is good for you.
Yeah.
And it causes wrinkles.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, some of the anoxic damage from those kinds of things, it's no good.
Okay. Yeah.
That was such a random one.
I love it.
I love it too.
The reason why was
we were like grounding. Now tell me about alcohol.
I thought about it when he was talking about sleep, and then I was thinking about it.
I love
It was a valid question.
I'm gonna pose one more tip
Yes.
to the grounding thing, and it has to do with what Nikki said in meaningfully connecting with people and having intention with your connections with people, and I think that is really helpful for our hearts. There's some wonky thing that happens when people say, "Oh, I'm an introvert." I think it's just a little bit of fear. I think there's just, and we all have it, right? It's easier for me to just go like this than to make a connection with someone.
Right.
And so, I don't know. I think having very deliberate times of connecting with friends, with family, with loved ones, and making those very intentional, and having an intention with that connection. I think that is really clutch. And then lastly, the last part I'll say is just this little thing that I have in my hand. So I've been making these, again, I have these weird hobbies.
I love that.
So this is I call it Serenity Wood. I just made that up a few
Serenity.
weeks ago. But
I love
I've
it.
been making
Sounds
these
inspired.
little pieces of wood that I just hold it, and it's got a flat finish, which means it doesn't really have any finish on it. It's just my oils from my body, and I like to smell it. I like to hold it. I like to feel it. And again, using my senses to kind of give me a grounding presence with, and it's cool that it's wood and you can kind of hear the grains as they're kind of going across your skin. And it's very calming. And I think things like this are
Honestly,
pretty cool.
it was
Where did you
just
get
calming
that?
listening to you explain that.
Yeah, it's the opposite of a fidget spinner. Those things are like do all
Right,
these things.
yeah.
Like this is more like Serenity. It's for just calming and cool.
So side business.
I make these
That's
on
what
my.
I'm
I make them in my.
Do you sell them on Etsy or anything?
No, I just
Wait,
make them
you
in
should.
You need to.
I give them to my clients. I'm like, here,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
help this.
Yeah, we'll zoom in on that. I think that's really, really interesting. And that's the thing is there are small things that we can do to calm ourselves. Sometimes it's just exploration
Yeah.
and being a little bit more
Because
present.
everyone's different.
I started doing little walking meditation. So you're not closing your eyes or anything, but it's a sense. It walks you through all of the senses. So for the first couple minutes, you'll look at everything and you'll find weird objects, or it'll ask you to point on a different color that shouldn't be there, and then it'll ask you to smell. What do you smell? And it'll take you down all of them. And then you're like, holy cow, I've never noticed that before. And then you start to have an entirely different outlook, which is really cool. So I love that one to relieve a little bit of stress. That's fantastic. Well, are there any other nuggets that you'd love to leave our audience with before we leave? Because we truly could go off all day with you.
Yes. Yes.
No, I think we've hit on some really, really meaningful points today. I think be a self-advocate, find a healthcare provider who could be an advocate with you in this really broken system. And I would say manage those cortisol levels, exercise, play lots of pickleball, have some fun, do some play, bathe in the
Go
forest every
outside.
day, go outside, breathe, feel the trees, hug a tree. It's really great. Just hug a
I've
tree.
never hugged a tree, but I'm going to go do that today.
It's powerful. It's powerful.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I, for one, was reminded of so many different things. So I just appreciate you being here. And we're excited to do it. We're going to make you come on for a part 2.
Let's do it. I love what you guys are doing. Your mission is beautiful. Keep it up.
Let's give you a little plug. Please tell everyone where they can find you, how they can work with you. And honestly, you guys should work with him.
Cool. Thank you. My practice name is Voyage Direct Primary Care. It's a family medicine clinic in Orem off 800 North. I've also got a satellite clinic in Mapleton. So open enrollment's coming up. And so folks got to make some choices there with their plans or whatever. And if plugging Voyage Direct Primary Care into your healthcare system makes sense, then that's great. We're happy to help take care of you.
That's great. And what's the radius? So your office is in Orem, but then how far can people work with you?
So since its inception, we've been doing telehealth and video chat and things like
great.
that. And I was a doc in Moab for a long time, and so I still have clients in Moab, and I have clients as far south as like St. George and Salt Lake. But for the most part, I like to keep them a little closer, and so I think the utilization is better. And so usually, I mean, Saratoga, even around the corner to Draper and South Jordan, West Jordan, and all through Utah County, even into South County, Payson. Is great. All of those areas, I have a lot of clients in all those spaces.
That's
Amazing.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, and he's going to be coming out with a podcast here soon as well.
Let's
Yes.
go.
So we will make sure to let you guys know when that happens.
And selling the Serenity wood, the Serenity piece.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just give these away to my patients.
So if you want one, I guess you have to work with him. But thank you again for joining us today, Dr. John. We're super excited to just follow along on your journey too. This is going to be awesome. Until next time, everyone, building with vitality.
Thanks for listening to Building with Vitality.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more. Love you guys.
Thank you for joining the podcast. This particular podcast was recorded at Rookery Studios in Orem and Salt Lake City, Utah. If you want to start your own podcast and need a studio, a hands-off, done-for-you studio from beginning to end, check us out. Go to our Instagram, Rookery Studios, or our website, therookerystudios.com for more information on how you can get your entire podcast done for you at a very reasonable price.